Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi. So I can introduce the young man with the glasses is a
Yes.
script writer. His name is Rob Tobin.
Oh, hi,
And
Rob.
the guy with the
Hey,
long blonde
everybody.
hair is Matthias Hues. He's an actor.
And then we have Leni.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, I didn't see you. There's my, let me
I
give
am
you a hug,
here.
Lenny. Oh my God, I haven't seen you in years. Let me give you a hug.
I'm here, quiet.
I didn't,
How are you guys?
And my
Hi,
girl, Fran.
Hey.
The ideal of this platform was there's actually two ideals. They want to get filmmakers. Of course, they get the De Niro's too, and they get all the big names, but they wanted filmmakers like us. That's what we are. That's what we do. And to find out how it affected you, your opinion, what do you think it's going to change? And it doesn't have to be a negative, it doesn't have to be positive. It's just your opinion on what you think. And we wanted to get every aspect because, often like Rob, he's a writer. Often writers are not often talked about, or you don't really get their opinion. Often they always ask the actor when he's going across the red carpet, his opinion. And most of those opinions are scripted or you're rehearsed, but they never really get to ask everyone.
Why don't I jump in briefly? My name is Rob Tobin. I'm a screenwriter. And because of the pandemic, I've now dipped my toe into producing as well. And I'm Canadian. Living in Southern California. I'm in Malibu, living in a garage because we're renovating the house. And I've written screenplays, television, most of it international because that's where the business was for a long time. And that's where the money's coming from, like from Germany and China and Dubai and India and all of those places that I've been hired to write for because that's where the business and the money was coming from for the last several years. I'm also a novelist as well. And I've actually, during the pandemic, I've actually started my first novel in several years because it's something that you can do without having to worry about camera crews and the pandemic. And it's kind of contained and you can send it off and not have to worry about who is collaborating with you and what talent you can attach to it and so forth. So that's who I am and where I'm at.
Was it the pandemic that you said, okay, now I'm just going to go to novels, or were you already kind of thinking about that direction before?
Well, the industry has gone through such cataclysmic changes over the last 20 years and well before COVID ever hit us. I mean, the move to digital from analog, from stock film, and then which affected not just the way the films were displayed, but how they were made. I mean, it used to be so expensive to shoot a movie because not only did you have to pay for film stock, but you had to be really aware of how much film you were shooting per day because it all cost. And it was edited differently and distributed differently and everything else. So just that shift alone was just monumental. And then along with that came in, cable and then streaming. And then, of course, everything kind of took an accelerated turn with COVID because everything had to go to streaming, and that just kind of accelerated something that was happening anyway. So with all of that, I've always had novels in my back pocket, had a couple published, and then I just thought, but during the pandemic, it wasn't just that I turned completely or exclusively to novels. I also went the other direction and founded 3 film production companies that I thought that, during the pandemic, there would be people available that might not have been available, beforehand that were really looking for work. And so the first production company I've co-founded, the people just wanted to go out and shoot a trailer for the script that we're producing, developing, which was mine. And they went out into the teeth of the pandemic and shot this beautiful, great trailer. And then the next company I had, they wanted to do a table read that was being done from people's apartment and then just edited and spliced together and scored and so forth. And that became, and then the third company, they decided to do a trailer based on nothing but stock footage. So all of those were ways of dealing with the pandemic and finding ways around it. But the end result is that we ended up having to be very creative and find ways around it. And also to simplify, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time in film. I think that we've kind of been pulled along on the big film, big budget films, the special effects, the big name actors, and it's kind of gotten so out of control that it's very difficult to make a film that's commercially successful unless you've got a fairly big budget and big names attached, and everything became about attachments. And with all of that, I think all of us are the good part is that we're finding different ways of telling our stories. And I think that's a good thing.
I agree. I mean, I agree. Matthias, you do both European and American and Canadian. I know, like lately, I see a lot of people trying to shoot stuff with their iPhones. And some people think that's the new industry. I mean, what do you think? I personally don't like it, but
well, for one, I guess all of us on this panel are fanatics about film in one way or the other. If you're a screenwriter, if you're an actor, if you're a producer, you want to produce the best product possible. And it's not necessarily always the big budget movies, like you just said. It's the ones that are really speaking to you for whatever terms, if it's dramatically really well written or acted. You don't need any explosions or big name actors. I became a consumer the last year, like most of us. So I've been watching endless amount of television series, especially from foreign countries. And I have to say, they are not big budget. They're all well done technically. Yes. So they're not shot on an iPhone. They are shot really beautiful. And they are amazing. The character developments, the storylines, the way they pull you in. It's just like Breaking Bad, but literally on a worldwide international level right now. So I'm so proud of these European filmmakers, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Brazil, all of that is so interesting. Russia really has come out with some wonderful TV series, and as a writer, a television series gives you much more opportunities to develop characters than just a movie with 90 minutes of special effects and aliens attacking and muscles and good-looking women in tight suits. I think we're all sick of it, and most likely, possibly, this disaster that has struck us is for good, because we are having to deal with less money, less star power, and now through Netflix and Amazon and all the streaming devices, there are so many actors out there that are so good that movies slowly disappear. Which is great for filmmakers, because we can finally pull in people that are not $25 million a pop. We can pull in a talent for a regular budget to do the same job. So
I am hopeful because of I know it sounds weird, because of all the streaming. Even the stuff that I'm watching, I'm really watching shows, like you said, from everywhere. Swedish shows are often very dark.
Yeah.
But they're brilliantly done, and even the synchronization doesn't bother me so much. Even though their mouth was not, wasn't synced up, it didn't bother me. And when I watched Lupin, because I don't speak any French, I also watched it in English, and I know they're synchronated. But it didn't bother me because the story is so good, and the players are good. I have to say it.
They're amazing. They're amazing.
Yeah. They do unbelievable castings. I can't believe. I think it opens a lot more. Hopefully, it opens a lot more doors for the actors that are not A-list.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm hoping too. Of course, you're going to have some shows that want the A-list actors, but I think hopefully that through this Corona thing, because it's about budget too. For a good example, I have a script that guy from England wrote with me together, and it's called The Black Knight, and it's a social drama. And we've been trying to get it going for years and years, and we finally got it going. But there's not going to be any A-list actors in the show because of the budget. And of course, it's an art house kind of thing. The budget is smaller, and we already have the distribution. They already have distribution for online and all that. So the money is there for the show. But in Germany, you can't even begin to think and shoot it, and the location is Berlin. So they have to wait. And we can't shoot it in the summer because it's a winter story. So now would be perfect. but it probably won't happen before November,
There's
December.
always, Jaymes, there's always something.
It's always something.
Everybody, I mean, I'm not talking to a strange group of people. We're all in the business. There's always something. And I love it because we all have to deal with it no matter what, right, Robert? I mean, there's always something.
Well, you know, if we didn't love it, we wouldn't be doing it.
I know.
Yeah,
It's gotta
because
be
it
better
ain't for the
ways
money.
of living.
But if I may want to throw one question to Fran, are you afraid that you lose your big paycheck in the future if you write movies that are not attracting big A-list stars any longer because we simply cannot afford them and we lost the venue of the movie theaters? Are you afraid you're going to go down in your lifestyle, literally, or in your expectations of what your scripts should sell for?
Well, I don't actually represent writers, so I don't do scripts, it's actors. I'm actually not afraid because there's just more of everything else really happening right now. And honestly, I mean, I love money, but I love what I'm doing. And so it's not, I'm not motivated by the money. I'm motivated by the love of the art. So in that regard, I mean, maybe, you know, another manager, another agent's going to say the money, it's all about money. But for me, it's not all about money. And I think that you keep doing what you love doing, and I think the money comes, right? You keep, so that, I'm motivated, I'm passionate and motivated for the right reasons. What can I say?
With the pandemic, do you find that you're booking people less or that you're booking people more? Do you think it changed any?
It has changed. Yes, it's definitely changed. There's less opportunity. Shows that we're going are going, and I have people working in Vancouver. A new show started in Atlanta. LA is starting to come back. New York and Chicago seem to have been working a lot. And Atlanta's been going.
Yeah, Atlanta's the boom right now, right? Yeah, pretty much.
I think so. And Vancouver too.
With you, Leni, because you also produce and stuff, how do you see it with COVID? Did you just work completely stopped, or did you find yourself recreating?
Well, the funny thing is, before the COVID hit, I was in Chatsworth. I moved to very far away from LA, and I kind of did my own lockdown because I felt like I want to focus and I want to write. So I was like for a year writing my own project, and I was like not going anywhere. And suddenly when I moved to where I live now in Miracle Mile, this happened, and I was like, oh my God, now that I'm ready to go out and have fun, is when it happened. The thing is, since the COVID hit here, I had a little meeting with my friends, and we came out with another idea for a comedy. So I ended up writing another new project. So I think I became a writer. So I'm right now working on this pre-production, trying to make things happen, and it's being very, very successful by now. But in the acting side, it kind of like, you know, it's everything very slow. I start to do some castings, and it's good. I have my set here to do my own things, but I can't wait to be on set.
Yes.
You know.
Basically, the COVID made everybody a little bit. You stayed creative, but you just kind of changed your avenue a little bit. And for me, it's funny because when this COVID thing hit, I was in Emirates, and their lockdown was really a lockdown. I mean, they haven't really locked down in the States, I don't think. They locked down. You couldn't even walk your dog. You had to either put a pad somewhere. They really locked down. So everything shut down. You're stuck there. I couldn't even fly out if I wanted to. Now everything's starting to pick back up. And it's anyway an interesting country. But the COVID, a lot of people who would never have done anything with shows before, all of them are now doing stuff on Netflix, because Netflix is grabbing shows from everywhere. And of course, the budgets are very low. And because everybody's hungry to work, you can get a cameraman in that country like little next to nothing because they just want to work, which is kind of a price dumping. I'm really skeptical with some of these things. One of the new things that everybody seems to be promoting is trying to shoot everything on not using cameras or not using actors, using like, I don't know, I don't want to call them background actors, I don't know, what can you call them?
That's not going to work.
Yeah,
that's not going to work.
No, I hope it doesn't work. It
ruins every film. I mean, one bad actor can ruin an entire movie. You have to have professional people, and you have to have professional lighting, and you have to have a professional written script.
I
with
agree.
3 acts and plots. And if you don't have it, this is never going to last. We are way too far advanced in the film business to accept that. I mean, you as a producer, actor, you see right away if something is low budget or if people are not actors. Even if they are having actors from another country in an English movie, if the pronunciation is not 100% perfect, the delivery, it doesn't even reach the audience.
But for me, if I'm playing with someone and I know they didn't do their homework, I get really insulted.
Yeah.
It's an insult to everybody, all the 300 people on the set, you know, and I've had it happen even from actors that consider themselves better actors. But the lockdown didn't bother me so much because I'm not a guy that's running around so much. I mean, I'm pretty much always a loner kind of thing. But so I didn't.
You're all over the place. You're in this country and that country.
And the mask doesn't bother me. I see it like wearing a seatbelt or wearing a helmet when you ride a motorcycle. I don't find it that annoying because you're protecting someone else. It's funny. I think I became a lot more political during this time because of all, you know, I don't want to wear a mask because it's against my freedom and everything. But back to the movie industry, I think we can take a lot positive out of this. You know, the big box office movies, which is fine. I'm all for that if I play that. But the indie films and these art house films and series and all that, I would jump on something like that so fast. Yeah. And years ago, I would never do a series. I said I don't want to do a series unless it's a Fran knows. I don't want to do it. Now you can forget it, man. You put me in a series, I'm good.
I know.
Years ago, you only wanted to do film. Now, my next question would be, do you think there are going to be more COVID films?
Oh, that's a really good question, Jaymes.
You know, I mean, I don't know if I want to see a bunch of them, but, you know, I guess Rob would be the one, you know.
What a good question.
Direction.
I'm writing one right now.
Are you serious?
But I tend not to look at a film as being something of a genre. So I don't look at a Western, a good Western, as being a Western. I look at it as being a good story set against a Western backdrop or a sports backdrop or a dramatic or comic. You know, if it takes place in everything takes place in Copenhagen and it's about royals and everything, that's fine. But the story has to be the story. And I think that the one thing that COVID and everything else, if it helps us refocus on the story. And I know I'm prejudiced because I'm a writer. And I don't believe that the writer is the most important aspect. I don't think that it should be called a Rob Tobin film because I wrote the script. So I'm not one of those. But I do believe that without the story, there is nothing else. So it's the first element, if nothing else, and that you build everything. So it's like everything else. If you don't have a good foundation, everything else will crumble. So I think that the good thing about being forced to go smaller, lower budget, maybe even more contained and so forth. Although in the long run, I agree with you, Matthias, that you can't just keep shooting films with iPhones and in your living room. And, you know, people are going to get tired of it. But at the same time, if it has the short-term effect of refocusing us on the importance of story, because you have to have story when you're in your living room and you have nothing else, then I think that's a good thing. And then we need to take that and then go back out into the world and apply that certainly and use all of the techniques of film. But I think refocusing is a good thing to do.
I totally agree.
The movie that I wrote is nothing at all about COVID. We don't want to mention anything because we just want to be like escaping of the real world right now. That's how we wrote. So have a good time. You know, you see yourself there, many characters that people are gonna see themselves, but no, we don't want to have any kind of drama. As we just want to have fun, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, but on the set, you do. Everybody has to wear masks.
I've had clients audition for television, and they've had them do the same scene twice, one with a mask and one without a mask.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I guess they're not sure what they're going to do, right?
Well, you know, it's interesting too that some series have just chosen to ignore it, and it's a choice that they have to make. Like Blue Bloods, the pandemic doesn't exist, and then you know, All Rise, everything is about masks and distancing and everything, And I guess either way is a valid choice in the sense that one's easier than the other. But there's probably going to be a raft of period pieces that they're going to shoot going, well, this was in 2018.
A few weeks ago, because Tom Cruise is shooting in Italy, his Mission Impossible. And he fired like 20 people for not wearing their mask. And somehow somebody videoed it because he was pretty upset. And people commented, oh, he's such a bad guy. And I saw it different because I've worked with him before on Mission Impossible 3. He's not a bad guy. And I don't care what your religious belief is. If you're cool on the set, you're cool on the set. And I know what happened. He told them over and over and over again because they were shooting in Italy. Italy had some of the worst deaths in a town called Bigamo or something. Almost like 70% of the town died of COVID. So they're shooting in Italy, and Italy has very strong rules. And of course, who's going to get sued if something goes wrong will be Tom. So he said, either put on your mask or get fired. And then he ended up firing some people on the set. So my question is, do they demand on the set in the States also that you wear masks? Because here it's mandatory. Everybody has to wear a mask. Then when you get ready to shoot, you can take the mask off, and everybody's tested every day. You get a test before, you're quarantined 5 days before, and they don't give you hotels, which I think is great. This is a positive thing about COVID. You get an apartment. So in the States, are they testing?
Same thing.
On the set? Are they making you wear a mask on the set?
Yeah. It's testing 2 times a day, and there's actually special tester supervisors now that that hang around all day long, making sure that all the rules are being enforced. It becomes a way of life, for now. And
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, but how long? For how long? So we now in it 1 year. So the content's going to get really small eventually. Give it another year.
Yeah,
we have nothing to look at anymore. So we really have to come up with something.
And Fran, when you're dealing with contracts with actors and stuff like that, do you kind of demand it, or is it automatic on the contract, or
what about testing?
About just how they handle COVID, or
it's all prescribed by SAG.
So SAG,
it's SAG protocols, and they follow them.
Okay.
Where are you located, Fran? Sorry,
I live in Santa Monica. My office is in Beverly Hills. I'm from New York.
So are you from New York? Oh, okay.
I'm from New York originally, but I've been out in California for like a long time.
But you still have a touch of the New York in your voice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have clients there. I love. Yeah, some of my best relationships are in New York.
How do you feel right now being in Santa Monica? How does it feel? I'm in Las Vegas at the moment. To be honest, I ran away.
I go outside maybe 10 minutes a day, take a walk.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Everyone I know is catching. I have a friend in the hospital right now with viral pneumonia, having tested positive last week.
Oh, wow. Where about, do you live close to the ocean? Do you see a lot of the homeless? Yeah. So
I live near the beach.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Yeah. So it's
bad
there.
I'm homeless because I don't leave my place.
Yeah, I know.
So it's pretty bad in California, right? Or
that's what I hear.
Well, it's bad all over the States, but I know in California it's pretty heavy. I had some friends that had family members die when I contacted them. With COVID.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. But I want to go back to your point about COVID and jobs. The client who's in Atlanta, what they did was they gave him an apartment, right? No, actually he had to find one, but he found an apartment, gave him a car, so he didn't have to drive to set with other people.
Wow, nice.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I thought that was cool.
Well, we got to keep going no matter what. Otherwise we have no more films to look at.
Yeah.
Right.
Now everybody wants to look at it.
That's a good point, because the arts may well end up playing a more important role during this period, not just because of COVID, but because there's also globally political upheaval, some of it the result of COVID, some of it brewing before that, and the swing to the right in a lot of countries, including
everywhere,
in Israel, and obviously Russia is behind a lot of that. But even here in the States, the schism, it's just changed, I think, the world, and that's going to be something that especially writers are going to be aware of and have to deal with, because we're creating the stories. And if we're doing current stories, then it's going to be something that you have to take into account. And I think the combination of COVID and the kind of the outing of the political differences that were always there to begin with are going to play a major part, not just in the States, but everywhere.
No, everywhere. I agree. You don't only see it, you feel it. You feel there's a big wave or whatever it is. And so another question I wanted to ask just anybody. So what about travel? I mean, as you know, I travel awful lot. I mean, it is what it is. And of course, they make you wear the mask or whatever. I never travel economy, so I don't know what's going on back there. But
Oh,
I
wow.
always make it sound like I'm in the front
Those
of the
people, I don't know those.
I'm in the front of the boat. They're back.
The rest of us are back in economy.
Oh, sweet chariot. No, no, but so has anybody else traveled and if did you feel that somehow it was different or?
Yeah, I came from Indonesia. I live in Bali most of the time. And
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah, and
Life-
it took
Life's
forever to
tough
make
for
it
you
to LA.
guys. Wow.
Yeah, it's really hard. I got to say so. No, actually, we were in Bali when the Corona hit, and we were thinking, are we ever going to make it home? Because they closed the airport, and it wasn't that easy, you know. You had to go
The
through
Emirates the same. They closed everything
Jakarta.
down.
Yeah, and you had to have different coronavirus tests, and I had the wrong test. Yeah, I had a blood test instead of the thing. So they made me lose my plane, and then I had to take another test. That was like $500 test, you know. And I had to hang out in Jakarta for 5 days, cost a lot of money. So by the time I was in LA, nobody asked me for anything in LA. I mean, I had all these tests and positive things. I was ready to go to quarantine. I wasn't even checked. There was nobody there.
Really?
And I was
Amazing.
disappointed, quite frankly, right? Because I went through all this and in LA, they said, good, have a nice day, welcome home.
Wow.
I don't know, that's like how it is now. I don't know, that's a few months ago. So traveling is difficult. The interesting situation, I'm involved in a movie in Andalusia. It's a big action movie they want to shoot, but they want to have American cast and nobody can come to Europe, right?
Oh, is that band
Yeah.
still in
Oh,
place?
that's right. No, that's true.
Yeah, you can't film, so they cannot
Yeah.
sell the movie without the American actors. As you know, you package everything, and so it's delayed, you know. But then again,
No,
I
no,
heard
don't I know
Denise
that?
Richards. Yeah, I see something with Denise Richards. She's posting something on Instagram. Oh, I'm in a jet, and thank you to my agent and all this, working it out. I'm on my way to Spain to do a movie, and I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I mean, if you have enough money for the private jet, you're probably going to make it. But that is not good for a film company. They
Yeah,
cannot,
but you know what's so
fly
funny?
everyone on
There was, I don't know who it was, but somebody flew their private jet from the States to Europe or Germany or whatever, and they turned them away. I forgot who it was. So I mean, they literally turned them away.
Yeah.
So yeah, they made it
So-
very difficult. There was a job I was supposed to do, and of course, the main actors from the States couldn't come over, so that
can
canceled
go.
all that. Yeah, it is what it is.
It's a bit of a bummer. It's a bit of a bummer.
I have a question for I guess
Yep.
you too, but for Fran. So digital casting. So for the actors and for Fran, with your talent, digital casting.
Yes.
Yes, no.
Self-tapes are here to stay. It's
You
going to
really
be, yeah, absolutely. Because they
What
can see.
about our personal connections, friend? I mean, do you do Zoom sometimes with people, or?
Well, I do Zoom meetings, but in terms of auditions, casting directors it's here to stay because they can see so many more people, you know, and I recommend sometimes people do 2 takes so that, you know, if you're in a room, you might get redirected. But if you have another great idea that's different, put that on there too. That way they get to see you do more than one thing. And I also have relationships with casting directors. So I communicate with casting directors and follow up and it's not just you go in the room and it's over. So if you're worried about it being a terrible self-tape, they can tell.
So you think even after Corona, and Leni, what about you with casting?
Depends of the reader, because if the reader is very like frustrated, they want to leave. It's like, okay, let me do it. This is the last time. You got to do it, you know. But yeah, I love to do both. I like to be in the room. I think I like to meet the people and leave some good memory there. But they have more chances to see more auditions. So I feel like it's a good opportunity for all known actors. So I feel like it's great.
And I find, for me in COVID, I have casted less. I've been lucky. There were a couple of directors I worked with before, and they just said, "Hey, would you want this role?" Because they couldn't get somebody from the States. So, and I got a role for something because it was a director I worked with before. I find altogether in Europe, there's less castings, period, because of COVID, because there's less shootings, so there's less castings.
Robert, I wanted to ask you one question as a screenwriter. Have your salaries gone down, or how are you maintaining your level of expectations, what you think your scripts are worth?
Oh, they've gone down tremendously, but for me, it's more of a per project basis because when I end up sitting in front of, I remember being in the airport in Shanghai, and I had just been in Nanjing, and they wanted me for a project to write an animated feature there. And one of the co-producers said to me, "Well, how much will you charge to write the feature?" And I just said, "Well, you already know what you can afford, so you tell me," which is what I always say. But that it usually works for me because I mean, there's an old saying: the first person to mention a price has lost the negotiation. So they usually will offer more than what I expected because they're thinking that I'm in control and that I'm not desperate, which is, when you say, well, make me an offer type of thing, it creates an atmosphere where they're now playing on your court. But the other thing that it does is because everything has gone down, now when they mention a price to me, it's far lower than it used to be. For sure.
Yeah.
Another question I had was cinema release and online release, because right now there's some shows that, of course, have been postponed. I think even Jaymes Bond, the release of Jaymes Bond has been delayed.
Black Widow. I have a client in Black Widow, and that's been delayed now like 2 years.
Yeah, because that's a cinema release kind of show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so they won't release it online. I mean, you could watch Jaymes Bond online, but they won't because it's a cinema release kind of show. And do you think in the future they'll start going online a week after they release it in the cinema?
Do you remember that movie Roma?
Yeah, sure.
And that had a theater release and an online release, and there was a whole big dispute and debate about that.
Yeah.
So I think that, right? And I saw it I saw it like 3 times in the movie theater. That was a great movie.
Yes, yeah, a fantastic movie.
I think that big blockbusters are going to hold out for the theaters.
You think they will? After the Corona?
After Corona, they may, I don't know. This is just me. Okay. I haven't done any research on this. I think that like big blockbusters that have those budgets have to wait for the theater because they need the money. They have to make back some of the money. But I think that, in my opinion, this is really not professional. This is just my own opinion. In the future, I believe that budgets are going to have to change because they will have to they will want to release on smaller venues like streaming. So in that regard, maybe salaries will change because they won't be able to earn the same money that they used to earn.
Because I always think that maybe after Corona, people will flood, because of being locked down or whatever, restricted. I kind of think positive about it, that people will flood back into the cinema even more than before.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think we all hope so. But what is the theater situation in Los Angeles right now? Are they open? Are they still closed?
Everything's closed. There are some drive-ins I've heard about.
Yeah, but drive-ins. Yeah. If you're not 17 and don't have a hot date next to you, who goes to a drive-in?
Let's just say it, right?
Yeah.
Well, there is some shows now, like Stranger Things. They are having a Stranger Things show, like where they are coming to your car, all dressed up. It's a scary.
Oh, so they do like themes and stuff.
Yeah.
Really? And in Las Vegas, are the casinos open and all that, or?
Yeah, everything is open except the movie theater. So I used to go that one casino, Green Valley Ranch. I had a nice hamburger first, and then I used to watch a film with one of my best friends that I visit here. And now we can't do it anymore, but I could gamble and do everything like you said, right?
And it's packed? They're packed.
I mean, it's packed. And we could literally, this theater is so huge, we could just even sit 3 rows away from each other. We already have a mask and everything, but for some reason it's not allowed. So when is it coming back? That's the question. When? you know? How much longer can certain theater chains survive? Because the real estate property, just in LA alone, you know, the main theaters are in major malls, and that's very expensive, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's
How
crazy.
long are we gonna be able? So I love movie theaters. We all do. Hopefully, I pray that cannot be gone. That's all I can
I
say.
agree. It's a communal experience that
Yes,
is
it is.
more
It's
rich by
wonderful.
sharing it with others.
Yes. And you see, as a writer, how is the reaction of my film? I mean, how rarely do we get to see our own films in an actually theater with people there? But it does happen, right?
Well, it's the people in the theater, and it's also just the size of the screen. It's like you know, there's
So
nowhere
fun.
for your mistakes to hide. You know,
Yeah.
it's always on the actors, and the mistakes that the writers made. They're all right up there to be heard and seen. But also, I remember my last premiere. My wife noticed that at a certain point, people actually got up to go to the bathroom, and she said, "Okay, well, that scene sucked."
But do you think that the drive-in cinema is, I just thought of it because Fran was talking about it. Do you think that's going to be like a rebirth?
No.
I
of
don't
drive-ins?
think it's going to be a lasting thing. I don't think, because they're not going to go through a huge construction phase of
No way.
Yeah, okay.
you know, what they've got in terms of the number of drive-ins is probably what they've got, and that's all.
Yeah.
If nothing else, they'll find a way to make it safe, whether it's seating arrangement or you know,
Right.
whatever it is. And I think that if the pandemic, I mean, they're talking now that in the States, the pandemic's not really going to be over until the end of 2022. And they're talking that globally, it's not going to be over for another 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
But I think that there are going to be some permanent changes that come out of this pandemic as well, I think. And one of them is the greater switch to streaming. And that even when we go back to the theaters, which I agree with you, Matthias, is, I mean, that's just such an experience. You don't want to miss that. I mean, it's an event, you know, it's not an event when you watch a movie on TV,
No,
you know,
of
an
course not.
event when you go out to watch it. So I think that'll always have a place, but they'll have to find a way to make it so safe that, you know, people will go back, but maybe not in the same numbers. I don't know.
Yeah, humans are like children. We somehow get over things. I mean, we go past things very quickly in our lives. Of course, there's going to be some that are lost and everything, but it's like with the industry. It's always changing, sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad. But if we stay positive, we get past this too, like everything, man. I mean, and I have friends in Germany who lived through Holocaust, who lived through, who were in the Second World War. And one of my buddies, he's like in 90 something years old. He called me the other day and I said, "How you doing?" Because, you know, he's definitely a risk category. And he said it in a funny way. He said, "Man, I've been through World War II and all that.
That's what my mother said.
Yeah, that's what she said. I wear my mask. Yeah, and I think if of course, we see it that way. I think there's a lot of people who refuse because we've had it so good. You know, if you think about it,
amazing.
we've had it amazing.
What a ride.
Yeah, you know.
I think the good thing that might come out of this whole thing is that just as in the film industry, we're being forced to, you know, concentrate and focus more on story. I think in life, we're being forced to focus more on society and our relationships with others, because I think we get away from that. And when you realize that you have in your hands other people's lives, as you said brilliantly, Jaymes, about the mask being for other people, not for you, it's you want to protect other people. I think that will create a greater sense of community and caring and compassion. And of course, it'll highlight those people who aren't capable of that. But I think more importantly, it'll highlight and remind us that we're part of a whole, and that we interact every day with other people. And it's, you know, maybe it'll go beyond wearing just a mask, and maybe it'll go to, you know, how are you doing? You know, are you okay? You know, have you been able to get out to get groceries? You know, here, let me help you with that. And just a greater humanity will maybe come out of it. And sadly, oftentimes it takes a tragedy to create, you know, to remind us of our humanity and our ties to others. And maybe that's a good thing that'll come out of this.
Wow, I see this exactly the same way. I mean, when I think about the film business, why are we in this business? Because it's definitely not for the money. It's because it does influence and has a major impact on lives. I always say, and it sounds cliche, if you watch a movie and it makes you laugh, or it makes you cry, or it makes you think, or it makes you feel something. And that's it. It as a writer. I mean, you can read a good script as an actor, and you're just reading the script and you get teared up and you want to play in that film. And I think this industry has a very important impact when you have a tragic or horrific situation like COVID or war or whatever. So we have to be sustainable. We have to be and not with trashy films like The Duck Family or some series where you see a desperate housewife or a cougar mom. No, we have a responsibility. This is just what I think. We have a responsibility to give them some meat. Really, to give them, and if you're a vegetarian, then give them some veggies. But we have the responsibility to give them something to make them feel connected to being human. And of course, the media shows a lot of the bad stuff more than the good stuff. There's a lot of positive things going on out there too. There's people still helping neighbors and all that. But I think somehow, and I don't know where it happened or why it happened, and I can't blame it on just one individual, this fear of everything being taken away has gotten a lot of people disconnected from the basic human side of everything. And I think films and maybe will help reconnect them. If you look at some of the stuff coming out, you don't see a lot of action stuff, although I love the stuff, but you see a lot of films with some kind of substance. I guess it goes back to the script. You see now a lot of warm, social, or whatever kind of films going. I don't know if it's directly connected to COVID or not. And my question is, after COVID, will we go back to just business as usual? And I'm talking about in the industry, or will we choose to also start doing something that makes people really feel something? Because I mean, when you're locked down, what do people do? They watch television or streaming or whatever to get away from what's going on. Like I think Leni said it. She's writing something that's not COVID because you want to get them away from the reality. But what do you think it's going to be after? I mean, the impact of the film industry on individuals?
I think it's been an impact for the world. So the fact that people is being writing, is being creating now, and we're being affected in many ways. So I think it's going to be seen. If this project coming out, are going to be seen, because for me, I've been always involved on projects that have some message, that has some meaning, and even my comedy has a spiritual message. So I think at least for a few years, we have to see that.
But do you think we're going to be producing that? I mean, maybe it's more of a question for Robert or Fran.
I think one of the things we're assuming is that the pandemic will end. Hopefully that's
hopefully
that it'll be like a war or an event that we get over and then we get back to normal. I think what the pandemic has done is taken our eye off of a couple of balls here, which is like the environment, for one thing. I think that there's an environmental crisis that's getting worse by the second, and that's not really being addressed by a lot of people. There are some heroes out there doing it, but I think that when we emerge from COVID, I think what we will then have to deal with are the increased number of hurricanes, the increased heat, the crop failures, the water shortages, and all of this jives with the increase in population, which we've never done anything about curbing the population. We're going on 8 billion people, on this planet, at the same time that the resources are running out and the air is dirty. And I mean, and real estate decisions now are being made based on the expectation of rising waters. For instance, in Malibu, there are 20, 40, 50, $100 million homes on the beach that are plummeting in price, but their beach is being washed away. Well, for instance, Pierce Brosnan has a home here that he's decided to sell for $100 million. But when you go down there, you see the water rising, and all of Broad Beach now is walled off with huge boulders that they brought in at a huge cost to try to save the beach. So I think that it's not going to be that once we're over COVID, what are we going to do? I think what we're going to do is face the next crisis that is going to make COVID look like nothing unless we're able to somehow stop it. So I think that's part of it too. But then that also makes the arts even more important because we're going to be the ones addressing it, whether it's the writers who write the news or the actors who take the parts that, the Aaron Brockovich kind of parts or whatever. My prediction is we're going to move away from pure entertainment towards more of a heuristic educational kind of model where we have to be talking about the issues and in such a way that people get it. And when they leave the theater, they don't leave it behind.
Just be sensible and may the role land who is the actor most qualified for it.
That's
like you said, Idris Elba, he has an English accent. So, I mean, why not, right? He's a great actor. He's loved by everybody. I personally don't experience racism ever. And I know you, Jaymes, nobody thinks of color really. Right. I think the whole thing just started really with if you get pulled over by a cop in America and you have to be African American, yes, there are problems, right? But in the film industry or in daily life, absolutely no racism.
I ran into racism when I was in the military because that's the military system anyway.
Yeah.
But, in my whole life, everywhere that I've been, and I think I've been almost on every continent, literally, I think I have not ran into any of that. Not saying that it's not there, but nobody directly approached me with that. And I think it has a lot to do with how you deal with stuff and approach stuff yourself. And in the film business, I've always been treated for my own merit pretty well.
Yeah, look at this. It's really simple. Look, I'm a German. I have blue eyes. Yeah, blue eyes, blonde hair. So what do I play? I always am the bad guy. I'm the Russian, must speak like this. It's very, and I'm not complaining. Oh, so cast me. I'm doing a cowboy movie now. I'm a German bad guy. I'll take it. You know what I mean? It's like I can't be same with you. So you are the soldier in the war and you have to be African American because it's just there were African American in the Vietnam War.
I'm often the soldier or the cop or whatever. Yeah.
And then people see something in Jaymes. You're this wonderful person. You're this actor. You have the power. I'll cast you for it, not me.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Lately, I've been getting, funny enough, and I think it's the age. I've been getting roles like professors and stuff, which I absolutely, for me, it's like, wow, man.
That's cool, actually, right? Because you're the top guy.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's a compliment to you.
And I play fathers now and stuff, so it changes. I don't want to keep you guys any longer, and I want to thank everybody. This was like a little family reunion for sure.
Hey, you're amazing, Jaymes.
Jaymes, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Jaymes.
and I wish you all stay safe, stay positive. And Fran, we're going to talk in the next
everybody. So nice to meet you all.
High five. High five. Here we go. High five.